You ever wonder why you've always felt like you didn't belong? Why crowds exhaust you? Why fitting in felt like wearing someone else's skin? And why no matter how hard you tried to blend in, something inside you kept pulling away? That's not social anxiety. That's not coincidence. That's not you being difficult. That's your calling rejecting mediocrity. That's the mark of someone chosen. You weren't born to fit in. You were sent here to stand out. Every time you felt different, that was heaven whispering, "You're not like them. I set you apart." From the moment you were born, the atmosphere around you shifted. Your very presence was a disruption to patterns of darkness. People couldn't explain it, but they could feel it. That's why some rejected you without reason. That's why you felt tension in places you hadn't even spoken yet. It wasn't you they didn't like, it was the light you carried. Chosen ones don't need a stage to be seen. Your spirit speaks before your mouth ever does. And because of that, your journey has never been easy. You've walked roads others were too afraid to even glance at. You've stayed awake while the world slept. You've battled thoughts you didn't tell anyone about. But deep down, you always knew, I'm not crazy, I'm called. This is the season where you stop apologizing for being different, where you stop dimming your light just to make others comfortable. The loneliness you felt wasn't punishment, it was preparation. It was God pulling you away from noise so you could hear Him clearly, so you could recognize His voice in a crowd, so you could learn that your worth isn't in their approval but in His assignment. The weight you've been carrying isn't because you're weak, it's because you're strong enough to bear what others couldn't. You weren't sent here to seek comfort, you were sent here to create change. You're not part of the background, you are the interruption, you are the shift, the one sent to break cycles, awaken generations, and rewrite legacies. The enemy's worst nightmare isn't a loud voice, it's a quiet, chosen one who finally realizes who they are. That's what's happening right now, this moment, this message. It's your confirmation. You felt unseen, unheard, overlooked, but God never missed a second. He's been watching, training, building you in silence, and now He's saying, you're ready. You ever ask yourself why your life has felt like a battleground? Why no matter how much you pray, fast, or do right by people, the attacks just keep coming? It's not because God's abandoned you. It's not because you're cursed. It's because you've been targeted by hell since day one. The reason it's been harder for you is because you were handpicked by heaven. Hell doesn't waste its time attacking those with no assignment. The enemy doesn't fear the average, he fears the anointed. And you, chosen one, have been anointed to carry something heavy, something powerful, something that hell hoped you'd never uncover. That's why every time you took a step forward, it felt like life hit you 10 times harder. Because your steps weren't ordinary, they were prophetic. They shook realms you didn't even know existed. That sickness you overcame, that heartbreak that didn't kill you, that depression that tried to consume you. Those weren't just struggles, they were spiritual wars. And every time you got back up, the enemy panicked. He thought you'd fold, he thought you'd give up, he thought that last blow would be enough to silence you. But here you are, still standing, still chosen, still dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. You've been battle-tested because your destiny demands it. You can't carry the kind of anointing you do with soft hands. You needed the fire to sharpen your discernment. You needed the betrayal to teach you wisdom. You needed the silence to recognize God's whisper. Every rejection was redirection. Every delay was divine protection. Every closed door was God saying, "Not this one, I've got better." And now the enemy is nervous because you're waking up, because you're realizing that what was meant to break you only built you, that you're not surviving anymore, you're preparing to reign. The most dangerous version of a chosen one is the one who knows why they were attacked. The one who realizes that the warfare wasn't random, it was targeted, intentional, strategic, because your purpose is that important. And if the enemy had to fight you this hard to try and stop you, imagine the power you're about to walk in when you finally step into who you are. The shift is here, the veil is lifting, you're not crazy, you're chosen, and all of hell just got the memo. Silence from God can feel like abandonment. Like you're crying out and no one's listening, like you're standing in the middle of a storm with your hands raised and the sky refuses to answer. But let me tell you this, when God goes silent, He's not punishing you, He's preparing you. The silence is sacred, it's not empty, it's loaded, it's where the deepest transformation happens. God does His best work behind the scenes, where no applause can reach, no recognition can inflate you, and no enemy can interfere. You're not being ignored, you're being instructed, but in a language not everyone understands. Silence is heaven's classroom. It's where character is shaped, motives are tested, and distractions are stripped away until all that's left is the core of who you are and what you're called to do. God doesn't speak over noise. He waits for quiet. And if your life has felt like a season of isolation, a place of stillness where everyone else seems to be moving while you're stuck in pause, don't despise it. Celebrate it. Because God has pulled you aside for a reason. When you ask for purpose, God doesn't hand it to you gift-wrapped. He leads you into a place where you can discover it. And discovery takes silence. It takes unanswered questions. It takes learning to trust a God you can't track. What looks like delay is divine development. You're in the wilderness, not because you're lost, but because you're being found by the truth of who God says you are. In silence, He's not just watching, He's working. Think about a seed. It grows in silence, beneath the dirt, surrounded by pressure, cut off from the light. But one day, it breaks through the surface, and what once looked like death reveals itself as new life. That's you. Buried doesn't mean forgotten. Hidden doesn't mean unworthy. Silence doesn't mean abandoned. It means you're on heaven's radar. The noise will return one day, the crowd will gather again, the doors will open, loudly. But what you carry out of this silent season will be sacred, unstoppable, and undeniable. So don't rush it. Let the silence shape you. Let it teach you to hear God in ways you never could when everything was loud. Because when He finally speaks, when the silence breaks, it won't just be a message, it'll be a movement, and you'll be ready. Right now, there's something happening in the unseen that your natural eyes can't yet catch. There's a shift, a rearranging of the pieces, a reordering of destiny. You can't fully explain it, but you can feel it. It's that inner tension, that unshakable sense that something is coming, something bigger, something new, something you didn't see coming but God has had in motion the entire time. And while the world thinks you're standing still, heaven knows you're standing on the edge of breakthrough. This is the shift. This is the moment where everything starts aligning. Not because you forced it, not because you chased it, but because you endured. Because you obeyed when it didn't make sense. Because you kept showing up in faith when logic told you to walk away. And now, the atmosphere is responding. Heaven is moving on your behalf. The pieces are falling into place. This is divine timing in action. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are right on schedule for what God is about to release in your life. The shift doesn't always come with fireworks or fanfare. Sometimes it's quiet, subtle. You won't notice it at first, but things will start feeling different. Doors that were once sealed will start to creak open. Conversations will shift in your favor. Opportunities will show up that you didn't apply for. The people who overlooked you will begin to circle back with new respect. The same places that drained you will no longer fit you, and you won't even mourn the loss. That's because God is lifting you higher, and what used to be normal no longer feels natural. That's how you know the shift is real. Your spirit starts outgrowing your surroundings. Your appetite for purpose increases. Your tolerance for distraction decreases. You no longer crave what used to comfort you. You hunger for what builds you. That's not mood swings. That's spiritual alignment. Heaven is making room, making way, making noise in silence. You've prayed for elevation, and now it's here. But elevation doesn't come before excavation. Before God takes you up, He digs you deep. He anchors your soul. He makes sure your foundation is strong enough to carry what He's about to build on your life. And you, yes, you, have been going through that digging season. The losses, the delays, the strange turns that made no sense. All of it was digging, and now the shift is happening because the digging is done. You're anchored, you're ready. You're about to walk into rooms that used to intimidate you. You're about to speak with confidence you didn't even know you had. You're about to be asked how you did it, and you'll smile knowing it wasn't you. It was the shift. It was God. This shift won't just change your circumstances. It'll change your identity. The same people who used to call you broken will now call you blessed. The same enemy who tried to destroy you will now be a witness to your rising. The same places where you used to cry will become places where others come to heal, because you carry the shift. You are the shift. You are the evidence that God still moves, still calls, still elevates the forgotten. What's coming next for you won't be subtle. It will be seen, felt, remembered. Get ready, because this isn't just a chapter, it's a whole new book. And this time you're writing from victory. You have no idea how powerful your voice truly is. You've been taught to hold it in, to stay quiet, to wait your turn. But chosen ones weren't created to whisper. You were born with a sound that shakes atmospheres. When you speak, things shift. Not because you're loud, but because you're aligned. Your voice carries the weight of heaven, and the enemy has known that since the moment you were born. That's why he attacked you so young. That's why he tried to silence you through trauma, shame, and rejection. He wanted to bury your voice before you discovered what it could do. But what he didn't know is that silence isn't the end. It's the breeding ground of power. And now, the voice he tried to suffocate is awakening. Every time you speak life instead of death, faith instead of fear, truth instead of lies, you activate heaven's power on earth. Your voice is not just words, it's a weapon, and it's time to use it. You've been quiet long enough. You've held back, not because you didn't have something to say, but because you questioned whether anyone would listen. But the truth is, your silence didn't protect you. It restrained you. God has been waiting for you to step out and say what he placed in your spirit, because what's inside you wasn't meant to stay locked in. It was meant to set captives free. The words you've been sitting on, they're keys to someone else's prison. The story you've been afraid to share. It's the exact one someone needs to survive. You've been through too much, overcome too much, healed from too much to stay quiet now. Your testimony carries oil. It breaks chains. It pierces darkness. And when you speak from that place of realness, of fire, of unshakable truth, things move in the spirit. Don't let fear have the final word. Don't let rejection rob you of your roar. God is restoring your voice and giving you boldness to use it, not just for yourself, but for everyone connected to your calling. The enemy's strategy has always been to mute chosen voices, because when a chosen one speaks, atmospheres are disrupted, lies are exposed, and destinies are unlocked. That's why you've battled insecurity. That's why you've hesitated, because deep down, something powerful is inside of you, and once it's released, the darkness doesn't stand a chance. But now is the time to rise. Speak even if your voice shakes. Declare even if your faith feels small. The authority doesn't come from your feelings, it comes from your identity. You are chosen. Your voice was designed for impact. Every time you speak life, you pull heaven into the earth. So speak healing, speak freedom, speak vision, speak as if the future depends on it, because it does. Let your voice break cycles. Let your voice shake chains. Let your voice tell hell that you survived and you're not afraid anymore. Because when the chosen speak, things change. There's something spiritual that happens when a chosen one takes action in faith. When you align your decisions, your declarations, and even your comments with heaven, you open up realms you didn't even know existed. This is more than just words. This is activation. When you respond in faith, when you type in agreement, when you move without seeing the full picture, you're not just reacting, you're shifting. And right now, there's a divine opportunity in front of you, a moment that requires alignment. Heaven is looking for agreement, not passiveness, not hesitation, agreement, because faith without movement is fantasy. But when faith is paired with obedience, things accelerate. And when chosen ones respond in unity, breakthrough explodes. That's why this isn't just about watching or listening, it's about responding. When you type 777, you're not just leaving a number, you're making a declaration. You're stepping into alignment. You're saying, I hear this, I receive this, I claim this. In the kingdom, action is spiritual, movement is prophetic. That's why God had people march around Jericho. That's why he told the blind man to go wash in the pool. That's why he told Peter to step out of the boat. Because your action activates his response. And right now, heaven is waiting for your move. Alignment isn't just believing the message, it's engaging with it, declaring it, owning it. Not just with your words, but with your spirit. Don't underestimate the power of agreement. When you declare in faith, when you move in sync with God's timing, you don't just change your atmosphere, you shift your future. This is your moment to say, I'm done watching from the sidelines. I'm done hoping someone else will make the first move. I'm stepping up, I'm aligning, I'm activating everything God placed inside of me. You're not waiting for a sign. You are the sign. You're not hoping for a miracle. You are the miracle in motion. You're not asking for confirmation anymore. You've heard it. You've felt it. You know this is for you. So stop shrinking. Stop questioning. Stop hesitating. Say it with boldness. Comment it with fire. Move like you're chosen, because you are. And when you take that step of alignment, everything starts to change. The spiritual world takes notice. Hell backs up. Heaven leans in, because a chosen one just moved in faith. And nothing can stop that momentum. Not fear, not doubt, not circumstance. You just aligned with destiny. And everything is about to shift. You've been looking at your life through the wrong lens. You've been thinking you're behind, like time has somehow betrayed you, like you've missed the boat and everyone else got to the future before you. But what if I told you that you're not behind? You're being launched. What if I told you that all the waiting, all the delay, all the disappointment was actually part of a divine setup? You've been standing on a runway, not a dead end. You've been anchored, not stuck. And now, God is getting ready to launch you into a season that defies logic. The enemy thought you were delayed, but you were actually being reserved for something greater. What took others 10 years is going to happen for you in 1. What seemed impossible is about to become your testimony. The time you thought you lost wasn't wasted. It was God's way of building momentum. Rockets don't launch when the countdown begins. They launch after the preparation is complete. And that's what's happening in your life right now. You see, divine acceleration never looks like speed in the beginning. It looks like obscurity. It looks like long nights, unanswered prayers, silence that stretches into months or even years. But acceleration doesn't happen until alignment is perfect. God has been aligning every piece of your life, your pain, your gifts, your decisions, your delays. He's been building a launch sequence, not for a small step forward, but for a leap into purpose. You're about to experience what it means to be caught up in the wind of divine timing, where doors swing open before you knock, where opportunities find you instead of you chasing them, where favor moves ahead of you like a forerunner clearing the path. You're not about to crawl into destiny. You're about to soar into it, and no one, not even the people who tried to hold you back, can stop it. All the years you felt overlooked, God was storing up favor. Every time you were counted out, heaven was counting down. You thought God was silent because he forgot, but he was quiet because he was working. He was protecting you from premature exposure. He was preparing you so when you stepped into the room, you wouldn't just visit, you'd take territory. The pain was real. The tears were real. The frustration of watching others get what you prayed for was real. But what's coming next will make sense of it all, because now it's your time, not just your turn, your time. And when it's your time, everything changes. This isn't a slow climb, it's a supernatural launch. And the only thing you need to do is stay ready, stay aligned, and stay faithful. God is about to do more in one sudden move than you've seen in the last decade. You're not late, you're launched. You've been carrying questions in your heart that no one knew about. Why did they leave? Why didn't it work out? Why did the opportunity fall through just when you were sure it was from God? Let me tell you, every rejection was divine redirection. It wasn't meant to be yours because it would have distracted you, diluted you, or destroyed you. You prayed for purpose, and purpose has a price. It doesn't come wrapped in applause. It often comes through closed doors and shattered expectations. But just because it hurt doesn't mean it wasn't holy. God didn't allow those doors to close to punish you. He did it to preserve you, because he saw what you didn't. He heard conversations you weren't in. He knew what that relationship would have cost you. He knew the weight of that opportunity would have crushed you if it came too soon. So instead of giving you what you thought you needed, he gave you what would grow you. You didn't lose anything. You were protected. That heartbreak, it wasn't the end. It was the exit. That friendship that faded without explanation, that was God cutting ties to dead weight. That job that slipped through your fingers, that was him making room for something with your name on it. You keep looking at rejection as failure, but in the kingdom, rejection is strategy. God uses it to steer you, to cleanse your environment, to isolate your potential so he can multiply it. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need the right people. You don't need every door. You need the right door. And that's exactly what's coming. Because now that the wrong things have exited your life, You've made space for the right things to enter. The people who walked away made room for those who are called to walk with you. The opportunities that fell apart were distractions dressed as blessings. The platforms that rejected you couldn't handle your anointing. God has been pruning your life, not to punish, but to promote. And now, He's about to bring the right voices, the right alignments, the right seasons. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. You're not being abandoned, you're being advanced. Every closed door was God's kindness. Every no was protection. Every loss was a setup for legacy. So stop chasing what He's already removed. Stop grieving what couldn't stay. Start expecting what's about to arrive. Because what's coming doesn't need your resume, it needs your obedience. It doesn't need your perfection, it needs your surrender. You're not walking into just another chapter, you're walking into purpose with clarity, favor, and power. Everything the enemy told you was lost is coming back. Better, stronger, tailor-made for the chosen one you've become. Rejection didn't ruin you, it revealed you. And now that you've seen who you really are, nothing can stop what God is about to do. There's a reason why no one truly understands your journey. There's a reason why your path looks nothing like theirs. It's because the blueprint over your life was custom-made by heaven. You weren't designed to copy, compete, or conform. You were handcrafted with a purpose so unique, even the people closest to you can't fully comprehend it. They didn't hear the promises God whispered over you when you were broken. They didn't see the visions He gave you in the dark. That's why they question your pace. That's why they doubt your direction. But chosen ones don't follow the crowd. They follow the call. You've always had dreams that didn't make sense, desires that felt too big for your environment. That's not ego, that's prophecy, that's purpose trying to push through the cracks of a world that wants you to stay small. But you weren't made to be manageable, you were made to be a move of God. And what's coming next in your life is so specific, so strategic, so perfectly aligned with your identity. It won't just bless you, it'll redefine you. The blessing that's coming doesn't fit standard packaging. It won't look like anyone else's. It won't make sense to people who measured your potential by your past. This isn't just favor, it's personalized favor. It's the kind of blessing that fits like a key in a lock, opening doors you didn't even know existed. You won't have to chase it, you won't have to beg for it. It's drawn to your spirit, to your obedience, to the way you kept showing up when nothing made sense. God doesn't do generic for His chosen. He tailors, He designs, He wraps His promises in layers of timing and tests, not to confuse you, but to strengthen you, so that when it arrives, you know without a doubt it was meant for you and no one else. The kind of breakthrough that silences every lie, answers every question, and shifts every room you walk into. People will look at your life and ask, how did it happen? And all you'll be able to say is, it was God. This blessing isn't just about material things. It's about the alignment of everything you've carried in your heart. The dreams, the calling, the silent tears, the private sacrifices. It's about finally walking in a season where your outside matches your inside, where the level of vision you've carried is now visible, where the promises God gave you in private are fulfilled in public. Not for vanity, but for validation. To remind you that nothing was wasted. That every lonely night, every prayer you whispered while your voice cracked, every battle you fought in silence, it all led to this. The blessing is personal, it's prophetic, and it's permanent. Because God is not in the business of temporary upgrades, He's in the business of eternal transformations. You're not just stepping into a better season, you're stepping into your crowning moment. This is not just the next chapter, it's your coronation. The season where everything that was spoken over you, everything you carried without evidence begins to manifest. And not just as small confirmations, but as undeniable reality. The crown God is placing on your life is not ornamental, it's authoritative. It comes with a mantle, a mission, and a movement. You've been through the fire, not to be destroyed, but to be forged. And now the fire has finished its work. You're not ashes, you're royalty. You're not a survivor, you're a ruler, a leader, a vessel of divine authority. This crowning isn't about titles or fame, it's about function. It's about stepping fully into what you were created to do without shrinking, without apologizing, without asking for permission. It's about walking boldly into every room knowing you belong, not because of who you are, but because of who sent you. The crown is proof that heaven trusts you, that your integrity didn't go unnoticed, that your surrender meant something, that your suffering wasn't in vain. When God crowns you, no man can uncrown you, no rumor can taint it, no opposition can reverse it, because this isn't a crown given by men, it's a crown forged in faith, sealed in obedience, and delivered by divine appointment. Get ready to carry weight. Get ready to walk in rooms you once felt unqualified for. Get ready to see what happens when you finally stop doubting and start moving like you're royalty. You're not just being elevated, you're being enthroned. And with that comes responsibility, yes, but also authority. Authority to shift atmospheres, authority to break generational patterns, authority to lead with wisdom, with grace, with unshakable clarity. The trials didn't make sense until now. The pain didn't seem fair until now. But now it all points to this: you were always called for the crown, and it's finally your time to wear it.